Well, here it is. The first Sunday, late in the first Sunday of April, and all that action's long over. And here's my report. There's about what, over a month, just over a month left. I'm looking at the calendar up there, but a little over a month left in the season. And here's the story so far. Here's the story so far. First, let's start with the North Division. Toronto got that win over Calgary, so they move up to 53 points. They're 6 points ahead of Edmonton and Winnipeg, who are tied at 47. Edmonton has more regulation wins, so they're the second place team. Winnipeg's in third. The Canadiens are 16-9-9. Wow, they have 9 overtime shootout losses. That's amazing. Those points add up. They do. As the Stars, they have 10 of them, but even that hasn't helped them. I'll explain why later. Montreal is 41 points, and they're the fourth place team. They're 6 points ahead of Vancouver. Definitely more on them later. And Calgary, who are tied at 35, and Ottawa is 30. Wouldn't it be something if Ottawa actually goes on this big winning tear and passes all three of those teams? That would really be something. It would be the most NHL thing to happen in the NHL. Okay, the East Division. Washington's big win over the Devils. They won all 8 games against New Jersey. Wow. Put them in sole possession first place in the East with 54 points. Islanders at 52. Pittsburgh has 50. Their winning streak ended Saturday in that wild and crazy thriller against the Bruins at 7-5. It's the Bruins who are fourth, but it's kind of a distant fourth. They're 7 points behind Pittsburgh. Philly, those poor schlubs, 39 points. Rangers 39 points. Both teams are 4 points out of behind the playoff line. Phillies played one fewer game. That's why they're the fifth place team. Same number of wins, same number of overtime losses, but one fewer regulation loss. However, if Philadelphia does lose in regulation, the Rangers will leapfrog them because they have more regulation wins. New Jersey is 32 points, and Buffalo. Hey, Buffalo ended their big bad losing streak. They have a 4 game point streak. Congratulations to them. But it's improved their total to 22 points. Oh well, still 4 game point streak though. That's good. That's good for that team. I think we all cheered when they got that big win and ended that losing streak. The Central, Florida. My goodness, the Panthers have taken the lead. They got that shutout win over Columbus, who was just struggling, and now they've taken over the lead in the Central. Not just the Central, but the NHL. The Panthers are the best record in the league. My goodness. The defending champion Lightning, 54 points. Carolina with 53 with their 1-0 win. Tampa lost big at home to the Red Wings. Nashville, who's still on a roll, 41 points. They beat Chicago again, so they're 2 points ahead of them, and Dallas is 5 points out of the playoff line, 13, 13, and 10. So yeah, like I said, those overtime loss points, they add up, but not enough, as Dallas is still 500. Columbus has 36 points, but they're behind Dallas because Dallas has 4 games in hand. They still have a lot of games in hand, but they're not really winning them. And Detroit's bringing up the rear with 31 points. Now for the West. The West has the Colorado Avalanche leading. 4-point lead. 4-point lead. And this comes as a result of the Avs beating the Blues this past Saturday. That last-minute goal by Cale Makar got us the win. It's our 12th and 14 in our last 14, and the 2 losses were overtime. 14-game point streak. Woo! Vegas is 50. They've been on kind of a little bit of a skid lately. They lost both games to Minnesota. One of the shootout, and the last was a regulation. Only 1 point from those 2 games. And speaking of Minnesota, they're only 2 points behind Vegas. My goodness. Arizona has benefited from the Blues skid. They've moved up to 4th place. As a matter of fact, they increased their lead to 3 points with their big overtime win against the Ducks. Like I said, St. Louis is 38. The Sharks have 38. Oh, man. Yeah, the Sharks and Blues are tied with the same amount of points. They have the same amount of regulation wins, but so it's the row, 14-12, that's keeping St. Louis ahead of San Jose. But they better watch out. Kings 34 points, Ducks 29. Okay, so those are standings. Those are standings with a few weeks left. Now I have to talk about the Canucks. We've all heard the situation. They have a bad COVID outbreak with that team. It's pretty much the hockey equivalent of what happened with I think was it the Marlins and I believe the Cardinals this past baseball season. And it's pretty bad. The number recently went up to 16 players. 16 players uh, are in protocol, and my goodness, I want to know what the hell was that team doing to break this protocol? Because you got to be careful with that. You really do. You can't just go around willy nilly and ugh. But it's awful what's happened to that team, and I hope they come out of it. I hope they come out of it on very well. Games have been The Canucks games have been postponed uh, throughout the first. I think they've been postponed starting with this past weekend, and the next two that were scheduled against Winnipeg, they're postponed. As of now, they are set to return to play on the 8th. I think they face that's when they face Calgary. But yeah, of course, Vancouver's been struggling on the ice too. I mean, they're in fifth place, 6 points behind the Montreal team, who they never beat this year. And last night, I'm still remember reading this. Lambo Leap 1919, cool character on Twitter, Leafs fan, Packers fan, overall hockey fan, give him a follow. Sent me this article that says the league is considering, keyword considering, a bubble for the playoffs. And I just went, oh no. Because I had nothing against the bubble last year. I liked the bubble last year because it was necessary. We needed it. But I kind of think there are some improvements. It could be better, but there are some improvements out there. And I just hope the bubble could be avoided. I really do. I'm optimistic that it will. But I'm optimistic that it will because I don't think they actually have a actual plan for a bubble like they did last year. Because last year it was Edmonton and Toronto were the hubs, and what would be the hubs this year? I don't think they even have all that planned, the list of cities like they did last year. So I don't think a bubble will be needed. But there has been talk in the last like few months about, well, is the season going to be completed? Our team's going to be ranked due to point percentage, which is why they have point percentage on the NHL site. Because in case it comes to that, instead of point total, like Colorado's is 730. It's a high number. And speaking of Colorado, I don't know. Switch to a line though. We actually had the best record in the league for about a few hours. Then 4-1. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I actually did cheer a bit when Florida passed us. And there are two reasons why. Number one, the Panthers haven't had anything good happen to them since they made the Stanley Cup Final in '96. That's 25 years. Second of all, Florida's now in the President's Trophy position. I don't know if I want the Avs to get that trophy. That trophy is cursed. That trophy is cursed. Look at the last decade, really. The Blackhawks. I think the Blackhawks in the last 10 years are the only team to win the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup the same season. Because I've known for years that having the best record in the NHL means absolutely nothing, but it's meaning less now, especially given what happened 2 years ago with Tampa Bay. That I think that trophy is jinxed because especially if you clinch it early enough, because teams get complacent and go wake us when the playoffs start. I think that's what happened with Tampa Bay 2 years ago because they clinched on my birthday on March 18th of 2019. That meant they had like 2 weeks of meaningless hockey. That's not a good thing, especially for a sport that's always on the go. So yeah, the President's Trophy, if we get it, All right, but if somebody else gets it, I'll be fine too. Because the only goal is the Stanley Cup. That's the goal in hockey. Now the best record's nice, but you want to hoist that Stanley Cup after the end of this insane marathon. Okay, so what's in store for this week? Of course, no playoff spots for clinched yet because it's too early in the month. But what's in store for this week? Well, for the Avalanche, we have to. This is going to be a challenging month for us because we're going to be road warriors in the month of April. In March, we had a lot of home cooking and barely left the confines of Ball Arena. But we're going to be traveling throughout the West Division this year. And it starts this month. And it starts with a pair in Minnesota. That starts Monday. That's Monday and Wednesday. We got a pair of games in Minnesota. St. Louis has to go up against Vegas. Vegas is slightly struggling, but St. Louis is in a slump. And St. Louis didn't really prove that they can beat a top team in the Avalanche. So they really need to prove they can beat another top team, the Vegas Golden Knights. Toronto faces Calgary again. That's Monday. And of course Pittsburgh they're playing against the Rangers this week. It's in MSG. Boston, Philly, that should be interesting. Ooh, Florida and Carolina, two of the top three in the Central. Because it's gonna be interesting because we pretty much know who the top three in the Central is gonna be. It's gonna be Tampa, Florida, and Carolina. We just don't know the order. And two of those teams are gonna play each other in round one. You, all three of those teams want to win that division because you win that division, you don't play as a really tough team in round one. You play like either Nashville or Chicago, most likely. It's gonna be between those two. Um, Wednesday's pretty nice because Wednesday there are two Canadian games on the NBC Sports Network. I don't think that's ever happened on the same day. I don't think that's ever happened since they've aired hockey. But this format makes it possible. Wednesday, April 7th, it's the Oilers and Senators, and then it's the Canadiens and the Leafs. That's going to be good. Those games are going to be good. Well, it's always good when Montreal and Toronto get together. It's been a while this season since they face each other. But yeah, and of course, some new matchups this weekend. The New York teams clash. Minnesota faces St. Louis, and Minnesota is a hot team now. The Avs road trip continues when the team comes here to the OC to face the Ducks. Kings the Sharks. I don't think the Kings want to see the Sharks anymore this year because they can't beat San Jose. But yeah, so that's just some of the action that's coming up this week. And I'll be back next week at the same time after all the action's over, probably after WrestleMania is over, because WrestleMania is the second night of WrestleMania is the 11th. So I'll be back to recap everything then. So with that, I say enjoy this home stretch of this very insane NHL season, and I'll see you next week.